Who did it? Who did it?
I did it, I think.
Really? I can smell it.
It's the usual, I think. Yeah. How are you?
I'm I'm wonderful. I just got to spend an hour with my son. I don't get to see that often, so that was really fun.
There you go.
And I was just telling you before we got on here that I put him in. I have an Oculus Rift that we're doing some experiments at CMU, and it was really fun to watch his mind be blown by a thing because he's young and hip and knows things, and I know nothing. And to watch him be, amazed at a thing like that was cool. And then the little, we were talking about, when my guys were little, we had the Wii. And that was really fun and active, and they were just sort of native video game players, both my kids. And now there was a generation of kids who can and are and will be native VR. That just they don't know of a time where that isn't an option for them to go hang out and do stuff, and hang out and be with their friends, and hang out and be, doing stuff.
Right.
So it's interesting, yeah.
How far away is that?
Not far. Not far. The technology is there. That right now there's well, it depends on what you want to be able to do. But right now you can go and hang out. Like you and I could decide to go in and we're going to watch a Fish concert that's going to be streamed on some platform, and we could be together. Our avatars could be together, and we're just sitting there talking to each other on a couch that's in this space, and we watch the thing together. And then it will also be the case that we could watch it as though we're in the audience. But right now, that's still a few steps away.
What I meant specifically was how far away are we from kids being native with it? Because, the average kid in Nicholas's class, I think, has never probably touched it. So
I would say less than a generation.
Yeah,
because if you look at what Peter Diamandis, if you look at his 6Ds, we're in a period of deceptive growth. There's I'm paying attention to it. So there's I wouldn't have known this, but there's tons of development being done right now. And largely, I think, I told you this just before we got on, I think the vast majority of it will be some form of augmented reality where you'll have heads up, or Pokemon Go is an example of mainstream AR. And then VR will be a subset of AR. But I think in terms of, imagine you're in a beginner band, and your trombone player, you could give, in augmented reality, you could have visual cues to where the positions are.
They're not always good with reality. So
that's fair. No, they're usually not. But I think there's really, really interesting possibilities and opportunities to use these for. I think I believe it's going to be a game changer. I think it's an inevitability that we're going to start using these things just with regularity. We're going to start taking them for granted. When is anybody's guess, but who was Jerry Seinfeld, I think, was talking about. He said you can remember before cell phones were a thing, and you can remember when X, Y, whatever it was a thing. He says, does anybody remember before texting? He said it seems like texting was just there one day. And he was like, how did that just show up? Did we vote on that? He had this whole bit on texting that was quite funny, and it just it showed up, and now it's commonplace. And I don't know that VR will ever become that. I think that for a set of the population it will, but I think AR is much more useful across the board. But the other thing too, thank you for asking. Another thing that's really, I think, interesting. We're doing these experiments at CMU with AR and VR, but in terms of VR, there's a lot of problems. With VR, the obvious problems are that. So one of the students who's helping is a bass player, and so if he puts the goggles on, we have to build him a virtual bass in order to play it, and the bow will need to move in a realistic enough way that it's useful, and it needs to move, completely accurately, not kind of good. It has to be right, or it won't feel right. And so then if you think there's a I can't remember. Did you watch?
So the use case here would be for somebody who doesn't have a bass, and that they would be playing an imaginary bass.
Well, for the experiments that we're running, we're trying to create a performance simulator so that if there's a student who has performance anxiety, we can give them lots of reps to be on a stage. So we're creating a virtual we have a recital hall called the Kresge Recital Hall, and so we have a virtual recital hall, and right now it's only in black and white, but it looks like Kresge Recital Hall. You can turn the lights on and off. You can be on stage. You can be in one of the seats. And so then we can put, if this student experience performance anxiety, we can give him lots of reps to just go out there and we can run different scenarios like a holodeck and put nobody in the audience, full house, 10 people. We can have like an audition panel and just give him lots and lots and lots of opportunities to do that. But if he's got the full VR goggles on, he also has to be able to see his instrument, which if you have the goggles on, you can't. So then we'll have to solve that somehow. And reading sheet music is a problem right now in the virtual reality world. So we're also working with singers because they're not encumbered with an instrument they're not encumbered with a...
Because they can't read music.
So one of the other solutions is a scaled down version of what The Mandalorian did. I don't know. So did you end up watching The Mandalorian? I can't remember.
I've not watched the next season or the most recent season. So.
But you've watched enough of it, and I don't know if you know, but they built they call it a cave.
I'll remind you, we have a hard out of 725, and we have to talk about bucket list.
Perfect.
I don't know how you tricked me into talking about this tech for
this
15 minutes.
Last thing. So the way they film a lot of The Mandalorian is they built this soundstage-sized virtual reality cave, and they project the environment, and they can change we want a mountain there, and then somebody zoom, and then there's a mountain. We want that now we need it windy, and now it's windy. And now they have it where they can have it direct light. So if there's a sun in that direction shining light this way, it will reflect off the actual actors and the actual life props that are there. And so that would work even better to build like a holodeck where you go in and you're not wearing anything. You just go into a room where the projections are realistic enough, and we can create that sort of scenario. So those are the kinds of things we're playing with.
That's when I'll be on board. That's when. Not that I definitely won't be beforehand, but that's when, if I could walk in walk in with my tuba and appear that I'm on stage at Tanglewood, or that I'm whatever. Then that gets
what will be funny?
1,000 times more interesting to me.
It will be funny if I'm actually be able to pull this off, and then that's the thing that you use. That will be kind of to look back at this conversation to see if that actually, because I think that's where we're going. NASA's created a cave like that for about $30,000, so it's doable the Mandalorian one, you got to add a couple of zeros to make that one. So anyway, enough about that. I'm going to do what you're doing. You're actually doing things. I'm just going to look around as though I'm doing things.
Sorry, the Facebook is the worst. They changed the UI now that as soon as you hop into a page that the audio starts. I'm just trying to get the comments, and then when you close it, it then goes to a smaller screen at the bottom with the sound still on. Like after you tell the video to stop. Like what? And it's all just to inflate freaking views so that they can charge more for advertising. But I just want to. So I was just listening to two Lances at once, and I actually couldn't tell. I couldn't tell which one was the one that was live, and then I noticed that there was only one.
Which one should I ignore?
Oh yeah,
I gotta ignore both. This is twice as annoying.
I can't ignore both. It just takes effort at this point in the day. So at least I've got a 90-minute Mockingbird call at 7:30. So Lance, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Did I tell you about the VR stuff we're working on?
No, no. And I was hoping that you would talk about it with the same with the same
level of
enthusiasm.
specificity.
Yeah, and specificity that I talk about fish. So yeah, go.
It's going to be huge, as Jeff Connor would say. It's going to be huge.
I just want to be able to walk into an actual concert hall and play a damn concert.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I have no interest in that stuff, but I bet once I do, like, which I guess at some point I will. I'm guessing at some point I will. Then I'll like have lots of interest. I bet. But like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's like 3D printing is a technology that's been around and we've known about it and we've talked about it, and it's just not like I don't know why I need that. And then eventually they'll be like, oh, this thing broke in my house. I can just print another one and use it now.
Yep.
And yeah, you don't need it until you go, oh, I could use that.
Yep. Somebody, because the chat's still broken and I can't get to the freaking page where the comment is on, said you guys should check out what Dr. Mark Cox is doing with virtual reality.
Oh, yeah.
Great presentation about it. He uses a VR headset. Yeah. So
yeah, his research paper popped up. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, but that's on my to-do list.
There you go.
Yeah, because I can't wait to see that thing. Takes 3D images, concert, all pairs. Yep, exactly.
Thank you, Facebook user.
That's Michael James Kirby III.
Oh, hey. Speaking of Michael James Kirby III, we had the final masterclass of the tuba workshop was yesterday.
We did.
You didn't even show up. It was rude.
Oh, you didn't. I was user. I'm a doofus 3.
Everybody was on the screen, Lance. I know you weren't there. I know you're lying. It was really fun. It was really fun. That was for everybody that did the performer pass. It was 2 hours. We did some group listening to some old Empire albums, and we got like deep in the weeds on like articulation and releases, and it was fun. See, thank you, Michael. LOL, it was indeed me. The tuba class was great. Now this still just says Facebook user, so this could actually be someone impersonating Michael, and I wouldn't know it. But yeah, thank you, Michael. So Lance, we got like 10 minutes left because I got this. Okay. I got this grant making committee meeting at 7:30.
Sweet.
What's on your musical bucket list?
Well, it's interesting. So this
playing more with me, of course,
goes without saying. We interviewed someone today and talked to them about their musical bucket list. Are we talking about who we interviewed, or are we not?
We can. Go ahead.
So we talked to her about what was on her musical bucket list just to sort of find out. Now, she's a lot younger than me. And my musical bucket list it's not that big of a bucket anymore. Like, I don't have that much more. I have some album projects that I'm interested in. I'm doing this Grooves project. I want to record my comedy songs, of which there's almost 20. I just did the math on. So that might be like a couple of volumes. No one asked for any of these things. I just kind of want to have a record of them. Yeah. And then there's some pieces like Brian Balmage's Crossroads that he wrote for me for the Falcone.
You have to learn how to pronounce his last name correctly before you record his pieces.
Balmages?
It's Balmages.
Balmages. Actually, I have a good story about that if we have time for it. But so just like music by friends or former students, like I would record something that Dados wrote or Matt Murchison, stuff like that. Anything, it better be personally important to me, or I'm
relevant,
just not gonna.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good. I've been blessed. I've gotten to do. I mean, like I played with the Philly Orchestra a couple times. I played with the Pittsburgh Symphony Air Force Band, Boston Brass. You know, like I just am like
the Pittsburgh Symphony Air Force Band.
The Pittsburgh Symphony Air Force Band.
I didn't realize that the Pittsburgh Symphony had an Air Force. That's pretty.
Jim Nova's behind it. Is the whole
no
Star
wonder
Wars
they ran
thing.
into some budget problems a few years ago. They probably don't need an Air Force.
Well, Jim was pulling for a Pittsburgh Symphony Space Force Band, but they couldn't afford it, so they went with the Pittsburgh Symphony Air Force Band. I don't know. I just been lucky. I just feel like I've been lucky, so I don't want to jinx it.
Well, you can't. I don't think you can jinx it. I mean, it's not like you can like undo any of the stuff.
No, that's true. But I just, and I'm also just old and cranky now.
How
about you?
Yeah, my bucket list is a lot shorter than it ever used to be. That's for sure. Yeah, ever since the two things that happened when I played with Trey Anastasio, who's the guitarist of Fish, and when I played with when I joined Alarm Will Sound and played with Medeski, Martin, and Wood, like Fish is a band I've seen just over 200 times, and Medeski Martin Wood's a band I've seen about 75 times. And yeah, and I've like not played. I'd love to play with Fish. Obviously, the only way that would ever happen would be if they did a Halloween album like with an orchestra. But then the odds of me even getting on that gig, because they're secretive and it's like But I mean, sure, I'd love to play with Fish, but playing with Trey and playing with MMW, and then with all the orchestras I've gotten to play with and everything, it's like the Boston Symphony is like, that's big. Yeah, that's probably the top of my bucket list, is playing with the Boston Symphony sometime, either with Mike Roylance or subbing for him. But I mean, other than that, I mean, and obviously, like I've played with Baltimore, I've played with the NSO. I mean, I'd love to play with Philly or the New York Philharmonic or the Chicago Symphony, or probably the Chicago Symphony would probably be next on the list of just bucket lists, just because of Northwestern. I mean, I saw them so many times, but I saw the Boston Symphony over 200 times before I graduated from high school. So that's like, yeah, that's the one right there. But yeah, geez, I've gotten to do so much that there's not really a huge list.
If you could interview anybody for this show, who would you interview?
Oh, for this show?
Not the Sunday Hang necessarily, but for the mothership.
Wynton.
I was thinking Doc.
Yeah, I can share a Wynton story that's unbelievable. When this was in 1992, I was taking lessons with Julian Dixon at Boston University, and who joined us for the Sam Palafian Brass Legacy project. And I would always meet in the lobby. My dad would drive me in. He would just hang out during the lesson, and I would wait to find out what room we were in, because we would do the lessons at BU. And Julian came and told me what room, and I always had to take a few trips. And I walked by the big 167, it's the big rehearsal room, and the door was a little bit ajar, not really. And I heard some some pretty killer music coming out of there, but I was like focused. And then I walked back, and then I noticed, I was like, it was really kind of killer. And then the third time I walked back, I was like, wait a minute, that's like some of the best sounds I've ever heard ever, but I couldn't see in. And I went to my lesson. I was like, who the hell is that in 167? And Julian smiled. He said, oh, could you not see in? I said, no. And he said, just a matter of fact, he was like, that's Wynton Marsalis in his septet. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And he was like, yeah. And then he laughed with my reaction. He's like, would you like to meet him? And I was like, what? Like, yes. And so he then said, no problem. I know him from growing up. And I was like, you can just interrupt their rehearsal. He was like, it's not a problem. I was like, holy crap. And so we then in the middle of a tune, Julian walked in, and we stood there, but that's how well he knew him, obviously. And then they stopped, and then, and Wynton immediately was like, what's up, Julian? 'Cause they'd already seen each other, and then said, who is this young man? And in the middle of rehearsal, and then he said, what are you doing tomorrow night? And I said, you tell me. And he said, we've got a show at the Regatta Bar in Cambridge. It's 18 plus, but I'm going to get you in. Like, they won't let you, they're going to make you probably wear a sign that says I'm a junior, and then he said, and after, that's the early show, afterwards, out, don't leave, because they would clear the place out and then have another one. I was like, okay. And he said, and I'll make you a +1 so you can bring a friend. And I was like, oh, great. And so then the next night and we were like standing room only seats. I was looking straight down the three horns. And in the middle of the first tune, when Wynton turned to his right to see the sax player, he saw me in his line of fire, and he gave me this this totally badass nod, like he and I had been went way back, and I just nodded at him like, oh hey man, oh hey, how you doing? I didn't even see you there. And then there was an hour in between shows, I believe, and he took me around. And there was time to introduce me to 5 of the other 6 guys, and he stood there and introduced me to each one of them for 50 of the 60 minutes before they opened the doors. And he had met me just the night before, right? They were on tour. This was an hour to get his head straight, and he spent 50 of those minutes bringing me around like I was his mentee, and that he was doing. I mean, it was above and beyond times 1,000. So yeah. So I would love to be able to thank Winton for that, because I'm
That'd
sure
be
he
pretty
still
cool,
thinks
yeah.
about me to this day. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was 30 years ago almost, and that's like, yeah, that had a huge
So you were
impact on me.
4 at the time. That's pretty good.
It was. Oh goodness. So, somebody requested 5 more Mark Gould episodes in a row. He actually really behaved this past. I think there's a very good chance that if we interviewed Mark 5 times in a row, that he would not.
Yeah. I think you're playing a numbers game there.
Yeah, it's a math issue. Yes, it's a math. Who would you interview if you could interview anybody?
Well, Winton's the top of the list along with Doc. I think that those two would be probably, I mean, flip a coin there.
Right.
Then the next list is like Wycliffe, Trombone Shorty. Trying to think. Yeah, I mean we're doing pretty good there. I mean, because we've been so. I mean, I was just like, I'm looking at the Facebook thing, and we just interviewed Bobo. Like, he would have been on the list, except we just had a chance to talk to him.
Although that was for the workshop.
Yeah,
So
right.
most of the people listening didn't get to hear it.
Yeah, that's true. You can still buy it though, right?
You can. Turns out
Could do that.
that was slick.
Yeah, how about that?
It's at a
I
reduced
don't
price.
know. It's like everything. I guess the older you get, the bucket gets. Well, and actually,
You're obnoxiously lucky, like we have been.
well, that's it. And again, to talk about Jerry Seinfeld for a hot second, because I haven't. He said somebody asked him about having a bucket list, and he said he's decided to change the B to an F and call it done.
Oh goodness. So there you go. Yeah,
We did
boy, the comments thing is just not working for me very well tonight, but that's okay.
I think you're doing a great job anyway.
I see a whole bunch of them coming in, but I can't find them.
Well, so Prisk says, how about Philly O and Trey?
Well, I would gladly do that. Unfortunately, those all got canceled. Oh yeah, and now I found them. Yeah, Prisk, make it happen. Oh, I see. It was Matthew who requested the Gould, and Michael was impersonating Jeff Connor. That's funny. No, I see, because poor Jeff was the de facto leader of Boston Brass, and so he's the one that told me like the bad news of, oh, by the way, like the presenter's screwing with us, and we have to do an extra hang afterwards or whatever. So like, I still to this day, I love Jeff Connor like a brother, but if like I see his number pops up on like my I'm like,
What now?
like what? What? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, hey man, how's it going? How are you? How's Jack? How's Carrie? Yeah. Anyway.
So Hayslip also said John Anderson of Yes would do the Brass Junkies, which I doubt, but if he would make it happen, Matthew, I would have him on in a heartbeat. The first record I completely geeked out on. Well, the second record I completely geeked out on, and this will tell you everything you need to know about me as a human. The second record was that Fragile album just like blew me away. I found it. I don't know how, but somebody just like it was in the street on my street. Someone had just left this album in the street, and I took it in and started listening to it and just could not stop listening to it. Now, the first album that I obsessed about was Alan Sherman, who used to do song parodies, Hello Mudda, Hello Fada being probably the most famous. So song parodies followed by Yes. That's all you need to know.
That explains a lot.
It does.
Yes is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always have random flashbacks of listening to music like walking through foreign countries. It was great, even towards the end of the international travel with Boston Brass, when it wasn't completely outrageous to have your cell phone like turned on. Although it was like 8 years ago, I still didn't do it. It was just kind of like a nice break. So I would walk a lot, and I remember listening to actually it was Fragile, walking through Finland. I think it was through Lahti. Yeah, like just kind of having like a moment. Yeah, Did a lot of that in Taipei. Like can remember like specific Phish shows that I was listening to that didn't have any significance at the time or to the place or whatever. That just like, just kind of like random snapshots. Another one in Japan. I love listening to music in foreign countries. So you know what else I love? Not leaving my house.
Oh boy, tell me. Tell me. Well, then, it's like back in full circle. Then, if you could have a holodeck in your house where it's not the same thing, but
yeah,
because I still want to get outside and take a walk and be in the actual sunshine and do that stuff. But if I could walk around the Louvre on a Tuesday,
well, I say I don't like to leave my house. I just let me rephrase that. I like to sleep in my own bed every night. That's actually
Amen.
what I mean. I don't like to leave the house. I mean,
Bingo.
I go hiking multiple times. We went to Bull Run.
No, you nailed it.
Conservancy
that's
today,
exactly
and
right.
it's like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
No suitcases. So although, guess what? In
Chicken?
34 days, I need to go in 1 minute. In 34 days, Nicholas and I are going to visit my parents.
Whoa, that's exciting.
Yeah, my mother and father will both be fully vaccinated at that point, and so yeah, like Nicholas is already planning on going and like climbing on them like a jungle gym. So
I can't wait.
Yep. I even told him we're gonna have to run this by Gramps first, but I told him he for some reason wants to squirt him with a squirt gun. So I think I'm gonna tell my dad. Like sometime we'll tell you when, but when you're walking the dog, you're going to get ambushed, and he'll probably say fine. So that's going to be really fun.
My mom is getting her second shot here in a couple of weeks, so then it'll be because it's been it's been almost 18 months since I saw my mom for a series of reasons. Because a couple things fell through. We were supposed to get together, and then the world blew up.
And you guys had that huge falling out too.
Oh yeah. Man,
his
mother
is really hard to get along with. She's a pain in the ass all the time. She's always complaining, very negative.
Oh yeah.
Every time I see Lance's mother, I want to put her in my back pocket and take her home with me.
It's just everything is awesome in her
she's
mind.
Awesome.
Oh, what are we? Oh, okay.
She's the best.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened with either you or your brother, but
you didn't meet my dad.
Hey, touche. Tony Priss got the first shot today. There you go. Look at you, Tony. There you go. There you go. That's awesome. I'm happy every single person that gets the shot is making me safer. So it's not my turn yet, but I will skip to it when I get the chance. So, all right, I got to go save the world. We will see y'all. January. March 21st at 7. The Brass Junkies Sunday is going to be at 6 p.m. because at 7 p.m. is actually going to be a Winning the Audition with Chris Martin.
Who?
The lead singer of Coldplay.
Oh, nice.
No, the
is that the one that married to the actor?
Yeah, that's that's gonna be really fun. So Principal Jumper of the New York Philharmonic, he's gonna talk all about his audition prep, and he's won a few. I mean, it's only been Atlanta, Chicago, and New York, but other than that, it's been pretty good. So, all right, goodbye. I will miss you all desperately.